Hi there, and welcome. Now it's time for America's favorite podcast, Leave Your Mark, with your host, Vince Cortese.
This is Leave Your Mark. I'm Vince Cortese, and today's guest is Eric Hassis. He is one of three children with an older sister and a younger sister. His father was an engineer, his mother a banker. He's a graduate at TJ High School. As an athlete, he played baseball, football, and wrestling. And then he graduated from TJ and went on to West Virginia University, where he got a BA in political science and was a baseball team walk-on. Eric, thank you for being our guest here today.
Pleased to be here. Thank you, Vince, for having me.
Well, you're a Pittsburgh guy through and through, and I just want to touch on what your home life was like when you were growing up with your two sisters and your parents. What was going on in Thomas Jefferson at that time?
Well, being a middle child, and the only boy, I was pretty much surrounded by athletics. My dad he played a lot of softball, hard league type softball, and I just palled around with him most of the time, and that's where all my baseball interest came from. Well, my older sister was someone that had some guiding influence on me. She was more the studious type. Then my younger sister came around, and I guess I was her idol. She kind of palled around with me all the time. So
But that was kind of interesting. You had a good influence from both of them. Now, you and your dad sound like you were very close. Did Dad play athletics when he was younger?
he played baseball, and keeping the story a little shorter than it needs to be. He went to the Army, and the general found out that he was a pitcher, and kept him on the Army baseball team on the play other platoons, I guess. Or
Oh, wow.
so he pitched there, and his claim to fame is he got to pitch against Hank Aaron in a Atlanta Brave tryout, and you can probably imagine Hank lit him up.
But that's a very interesting story there, because we're talking a home run legend and your father's connected to him. That's a pretty big deal for your dad. I can understand why that would leave the impression on him it did. He probably wanted his son someday to be a pitcher too, I'm sure. That's how fathers go.
Well, I did pitch a little bit early on, but I found that I just didn't have the arm speed to be a pitcher, more than the command.
Okay. So you pitched in high school?
No, I pitched just in Little League, and then after Little League, it was just all outfield.
Well, you were playing football and you wrestled also. So you're athletic. You're probably playing sports year round. Now,
Yes.
Now, so when you graduated from TJ, what was your decision to go to West Virginia?
Well, my older sister was there. She's 3 years older than myself, and I had a chance to go visit her for a weekend when I was, I believe, a junior. I just felt that I felt comfortable down there, and so I just decided to go there.
Now, when you get down there, did you get into your major? I know four-year schools have a tendency to kind of sophomores and freshmen don't get the pick of the courses they want to take. When did you know you were going to be a political science major?
When I couldn't pass organic chemistry.
Okay. So you get through West Virginia with the BA. Well, yeah, it makes sense. So that's good. Now, when you got out of college there, you got right into your career. So kind of explain to me what you were doing there and how things began to gel for you.
Well, I always knew I wanted to work in or with utility, because it seemed that those types of jobs were always going to be there. They were never going to go away, because everybody needs electric, everybody needs gas, everybody needs water. So I had the opportunity to jump on board with Calvin Carbon Corporation, and for the first 16 years or so, I was a field service representative, but I would go around the country servicing their equipment, installing their products. And I missed a lot of my son's growth as a youngster. So when I had the opportunity to get off the road, I did.
So now, was this your first job out of college?
No, my first big boy job, yeah.
Connect with us on LinkedIn. Be our friend on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You are listening to Vince Cortese. We just want you to leave your mark.
Okay, so then at what time then your wife Denise and you have Alexandra and Eddie are your children? When did you meet Denise?
I met her in high school. A good friend of mine introduced us. She's 2 years younger than me. And she was a freshman, I was a junior, and we were introduced. And it took a while for it to happen. We were friends for a long, long time. And then we just felt that there's something there that needed to be pursued.
Yeah. Well, 2 children later, now, were you the same type of father as your dad was? Were you teaching Eddie sports and so forth?
Eddie, yes, I did do that. I thought initially this sport was going to be basketball. As a really young kid, we bought him a Nerf basketball hoop that clipped on the closet door. And you'd hear him in his room with the door closed, just having a good time dunking that ball and shooting from every corner in the room and making it. You couldn't beat him in his own room. But then there came time to make a decision between basketball and baseball. And actually, then football came into the mix.
Oh, wow. So he played all 3 sports.
Yeah, he played high school basketball for 2 years. He got hurt in a football game in Pines Field, and his ankle just didn't heal properly for him to continue playing basketball. He needed to take time off. And he played 4 years of baseball and 3 years of football.
Wow. No, did Alexandra play any sports or what did she do growing up?
She played basketball, softball. She got into soccer a little bit, but it was too much running for her. So she got rid of softball or soccer.
So these 2 go to West Virginia also, like yourself, or where did they go to school?
My son went to West Virginia Wesleyan.
Okay.
On a football scholarship. And my daughter went to Clarion on an academic scholarship.
Okay. I was a Clarion alumni myself, so I know what that place is all about. Yeah. Now, life is going pretty well for you for quite a while. And then I'm going to jump here up into 2019. And it was Thanksgiving when you discovered what?
I get dry skin towards the end of summer into fall and winter, and I had a dry skin itch on my chest, and as I scratched, and I felt a tender, somewhat decent sized lump. I showed my wife, and she immediately said, and this was the Friday after Thanksgiving, and nobody ever works that day. So she said, Monday, you're calling the doctor, getting looked at. And he would have just played it off as just a fatty cyst or fatty growth. But being in the area that it was in my upper chest, he thought it was worthwhile taking a look at.
So you went through having the CT scan and a biopsy, and what did they find?
The CT scan revealed the size of the mass. The biopsy was inconclusive. So they had to go in and remove the entire mass and then send it off for a more positive testing and more detailed testing to find out the age and the type. The biopsy did show that it was malignant, but it didn't give them much more than that.
Okay, so now you got malignant cancer in your chest. And I'm going to ask you to pronounce this for me because I butcher it when I say this. So it's chondrosarcoma?
That's correct.
a chondrosarcoma cancer of the soft tissue in your fifth and sixth rib on the left side near your sternum. As a cancer patient myself, or survivor myself, what was the initial feelings or thought that you had cross your head when this biopsy came back and they told you it was malignant?
I was shocked. I didn't know I didn't know what to do other than, if this is not a dream, then I need to get my mind right and fight this thing.
Okay, that so how is your family responding? Because you're not that old. I mean, at 55, that's still a young fella to have this diagnosis. Or in a lot of cases, people view cancer as a death sentence. So how does your family react?
They were all shocked as well. It was pretty much a blindside punch. Um, but I immediately had everybody's support.
Now, you were telling me that this type of cancer, chemo and radiation doesn't work on. So you were going to have to go through surgery. And it's kind of interesting because when you're in the situation being told you have cancer, there's generally some sort of medication or something they're going to do for you. So in your case, they're not really doing anything other than they're going to do an operation, which is, emotionally and mentally probably the most trying. But like, what's going through your thoughts when you know you have cancer, it's metastasizing, and you're getting ready for your operation? How are you preparing for this?
Just did a lot of soul searching, a lot of praying to make sure that this comes to a good ending. You're right. The cancer was not treatable. Look, they wouldn't treat it with some type of radiation if it was, in the end stage. They would try to do something at that point. But when it revealed it was pretty much an early cancer, they weren't going to waste their time or put me through any of that hardship with chemo or radiation.
So let me ask you this question. Was there an opportunity to do a laser? Because I personally, I had laser radiation, but it was because it was so small. They were capable of doing that. Mine was probably in a less invasive area on my thigh. Yours is in your chest. You got a lot more going on in your rib cage than on your thigh. So that they may not have been able to do. So that even mentioned?
And that was not mentioned. It was the thoracic surgeon. I guess he's experienced this a few times. No, although it is a very rare cancer. He said it's total removal. Have to go in and take the tumor, then wait for testing, then go back in and take margins, taking some more bone and some more sternum, some more rib, more cartilage.
Wow.
Muscle.
That's very nerve wracking. So on 2019 Thanksgiving, you find this out and you're getting your tumor removed as fast as January 2020.
Actually,
You get your surgery.
I was down at Delegate General. I didn't really find out anything until December, day after Christmas, that it was positive. And that was after the initial biopsy test.
So that was a month later from you recognizing or your original scan.
Yeah.
If you are listening from Australia, Florida, or just from around the corner,
from East Coast to West Coast outlets, if you're not into the dirty South straight, make a left and body.
Contact us. Leave your mark with your host, Vince Cortese.
So how does this operation at Allegheny General play out?
It was very involved. It was probably a 6-hour surgery, get in there and do what they had to do. It hurt. It was a lot of digging, I guess. They removed some bone and everything they removed that I felt. I was afraid if I sneezed, I might just disintegrate.
And so your process then is, how soon did they look at you after the operation to see what happened as far as their work?
Well, they saw me the next month. Well, maybe it was about 3 weeks later when the incision opened up in the shower. Oh, my idea, all this infectious fluid was oozing out of my chest. And that time we're full blown COVID. They told me to go to the emergency room. There was an infection. It was a staph infection that just blew up in my chest.
That occurred from the surgery?
Yeah. From the ribs that they removed, they put some type of I want to call it plastic, but it might not be. I don't know what the material of construction was. There was a bridge to cover that soft spot.
Okay.
And they said that's what got infected, but I tend to believe it was more towards the chest tube drain that was put in there.
Now, when that staph infection, what was the chances of the cancer spreading because of that? Or they didn't say that would affect it?
Well, I don't think at that point they were really worried about the cancer spreading. They wanted to get that staph infection up before it turned into
Their priorities changed. Now, then this plays out as you've had more surgeries than this afterwards. How many surgeries did you go through?
including the initial tumor removal, 5.
Wow. And what's the time span of those 5 operations?
It was January, February, March, and April, and then October.
So you're a year later into this. Now, are you getting any kind of treatment in between these operations, being that they don't do radiation or chemo? Were you taking anything orally?
For the cancer?
Yeah.
No, they did 6 months following the second surgery. They did a CAT scan to ensure that all the cancer was removed, and it appeared that it was, but I was still going through the infection. So I was getting pounded for 6 months with numerous types and strengths of antibiotic, trying to knock this staph infection out.
How long did it take for them to get rid of that?
I finally got clearance by the doctor that it was 100% gone this January 21.
So we're 2 years removed in the whole process of this. Now, what I think is remarkable in your case is these are all operations and there's no medicine being applied in between. It's kind of like doing a high wire act of sorts without a net, for the patient, because it's like your faith and your will to live is being tested to the maximum here. And same with your family going through this with his caregivers. So can you kind of run me through the things that you've done mentally to keep your sanity?
It's just a lot of conversation with my wife. She was the strength of everything for me during that time. I did have a home nurse for a while, but she didn't come every day. So my wife had to administer a lot of the dressings, a lot of the medicine for me. She was really the one that kept me focused.
How much of that elevated your relationship and your marriage with her?
Oh, it intensified our love for each other. Like I never knew that could have been possible. It's really turned into a love fest between her and I.
That's awesome. 31 years later, a rejuvenated marriage. Isn't it crazy the things we have to go through to create some warmth and love?
Oh, there's a lot of laughing and crying in between there. So
those are full days. When you get that to cry the same day, that's a good day.
If you have a story to share, tell us, how are you going to leave your mark? Contact us. Leave your mark with our host, Vince Cortese. Be our guest.
Well, I want you to kind of tell me where are you currently at now? Where's your health and what's going on? Or do you have to get a CT scan now, and how frequently, and what's going on like that?
Well, my health is, I believe, very good right now. I get scans every 6 months. I'm due in September here next month to get my third scan. So yeah, I'm not taking any medication as for infection. I am taking some other medication that I'm trying to keep my head sane through all this. But I feel good. I feel good, and things are looking good.
That's excellent. That's so good to know. So, are you on any medication at all now?
Not for cancer or infection.
Okay, so no more antibiotics, no cancer meds or anything like that. So we're seeking a good scan here coming up. And then will they give you longer than 6 months? They'll give you a year, or do they want to keep a close eye on you for a while?
I think they're going every 6 months for
Couple years?
a couple of years, you know.
And then, how do you see yourself as far as your future? Because as you get older, you kind of want to look back at what you've accomplished and what you've done, as well as what you've gone through. But as we get older, we have a tendency to not be excited about our future so much. And after going through what you did, you realize what a great life and what a great opportunity this is. So where are you at mentally now moving forward? How do you like to see your life play out moving forward?
Well, when my son got married in the middle of all that in September of 20, my wife and I, we are both looking forward to grandchildren, and just cruising into our golden age as smooth as we can.
That's excellent. Well, I want to stay in touch with you, because I just feel like these are the tender situations where what you went through and you're coming out, obviously it shakes you up, and you seem to have handled it extremely well. And we're hoping for brighter days for you. So before I let you go, I would like to know, how would you like to leave your mark?
Well, and in my mind, I think I left my mark already. My wife and I, with a lot of her help, we raised two super, super children. And in my mind, they're better than me in a lot of ways. And that would be my mark, but I'll let other people make that judgment. And I know they have. My kids have touched a lot of people. So I think that raising two good kids in this type of world we are living in was my mark on this world.
Excellent. Great dad. A nice contribution as well. So I would like to thank you for coming by and sharing your story today. Extremely brave and courageous what you've gone through, and to be on the other side of this, it's very heartwarming. So thank you for coming by today.
You just left your mark. Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes on demand. Just click Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese.